Dr. Dixi Patel, welcome to ITV Gold. Thank you so much for your time here. How are you doing today?
I'm doing okay. I just got back from work actually like 10 minutes ago. I'm doing good though. I'm doing a lot better than I have been. So
Oh, wow. Right straight from work to an interview. I truly appreciate your time here
of
with
course.
us. Dr. Patel, just starting this interview, I have to ask you about one of the biggest questions that's concerning the country right now. We have a projected number of 135,000 deaths, which was just recently, updated by U.S. healthcare experts and people that are projecting, the growth of the cases in the country and the deaths. So just starting off this interview, I'll have to ask you, what is your personal take on these numbers? And perhaps how, from an audience point of view, should we look at these numbers and the increase of cases?
Yeah, so the numbers, I mean, the death numbers are pretty high. And I think this is just a reflection of how starting to reopen reopen the businesses and things like that in certain states is probably not a good idea. I know some states have already started reopening. But I think because of that, we are going to start seeing a new surge of cases. And as you can see, we already are. So I know Dr. Fauci already kind of said, that we need to take our time with reopening the country, and we can't really jump the gun. And I think some states have already kind of started to jump the gun. And because of that, we are now seeing a new surge of cases, and so now they're estimating that these deaths are going to increase by somewhere. I was reading in the New York Times, I think, and it was based off of the CDC. They were saying that the new data was showing that about 200,000 new cases daily will come across the country by the end of May. So and I think that's just a reflection of us kind of reopening again and kind of jumping the gun a little bit. So
And the numbers just jumped within a day. Do you think it is because there are 40 states that are reopening by the end of this week? Is it projected, sort of sort of comprising of these states that are reopening and what they're projecting as the increase of number of cases and then the deaths?
I would think so. I mean, I think just looking at individual states. I mean, I was reading up a little bit on it, and I mean, Texas is seeing a surge. Dallas. I think Dallas. One of the articles I was reading was Dallas reopened, and they had a huge number all of a sudden. And so like they had a huge number of deaths and cases as well. So I think, and I think that was a reflection of reopening. I mean, they just started reopening, and sometimes it takes a little bit of time for the data to come up. So it won't, this data that we're seeing today is probably from a couple of days back. So I do think that it is sort of a reflection of reopening things. We can't put enough emphasis on the whole social distancing thing, and I just think if that's not really being taken seriously, which in some places it hasn't been, I think this is the result of that.
We have been talking about flattening of the curve and what happens after that. But now that there is this, basically this fear of a resurge of COVID-19 cases and also of it coming back again in fall and in winter, what is this curve currently looking like? And what are we looking at right now while these states are reopening?
So I think it kind of varies, but I think for the most part, it just kind of depends. I'm in New York. So in New York, we kind of hit it early on compared to some of the other states. We were the hardest hit, and we got the most affected. So, we have the most deaths and everything here in New York. So I think for us, we hit our peak like a couple of weeks ago. And now we've started to see a downtrend. So we are starting to see less cases. We're starting to see less deaths. We're having more discharges. So we are actually starting to flatten a little bit. Now we are at this plateauing phase right now. I know certain other states are just now hitting their peaks, so they're still up here. They haven't quite come down and hit their plateau, so they haven't quite flattened yet. But I think it's just gonna, each state is gonna kind of have its own flattening situation. So I think New York is definitely flattening its curve a little bit now. We haven't opened up yet. We're still on lockdown. I think they were projecting May 15th to reopen, but I think again with reopening, it has to happen in phases, and it needs to happen, slowly. So I mean that's just a projection. I don't know if we're actually going to reopen May 15th, but the fact that we are seeing a downtrend, that we are seeing a flattening effect here in New York, kind of just reflects that, hey, maybe the social distancing has been working a little bit.
Right.
But yeah, we are scared, about a second surge as soon as we reopen. There is a possibility that there's going to be a second wave. I think the main thing, though, is to make sure it's not as bad as it was the first time. The first time we were not prepared. We didn't have the equipment. We didn't know how to handle it. Now I think because we've already been through it, and we kind of got the, we got the whiplash of it, already early on. So I think now we are hopefully a little bit better equipped and a little more prepared for that. Hey, if there is a second surge, it's probably gonna happen, but hopefully it will happen, in a staggered fashion and not just everybody at once.
From a medical perspective, what is required for reopening, especially for an area like New York City? We both are, filming from there right now, as well as we speak. What do we need here for the state to reopen?
So I think as far as reopening, I think we just really need to make sure that we are kind of at this flattening phase. For example, it's only been like a week and a half that we've actually been seeing a downtrend of things. Right. I don't know if that's quite that's quite really confirming, or reassuring that, hey, yes, let's reopen now. I think we need a little bit more time to make sure and just make sure that we are still kind of staying on that path to where we can say, okay, maybe social distancing has been working, or whatever. Maybe we had a big surge of cases and now hopefully everything's kind of calming down. But I think we need a little bit more time before we can say that, hey, we're ready to reopen now. And even then, I know obviously the economy is taking a huge hit, but I think when we do reopen, it does need to happen in phases, and smaller businesses first. And then even then, I think everyone still needs to take precautions. So still kind of adhere to the whole social distancing thing. I still think wearing masks in public, I think that's still something that we should be doing regardless. And I think just in general, everyone should just take their own personal precautions for their own lives, right? If they want to protect themselves, the smart thing to do is to wear a mask when you go out, is to keep your 6 feet distance. Try not to be in large gatherings. And I just think this is something that we just need to this is our new norm now, So yeah. I think this is just something that we need to adhere to for at least the rest of the year, just kind of keep this in mind, just make this our new routine and just go forth that way.
Yeah, quite a point you said right there. It is the new norm, the new normal as we're talking about. Let's talk about the virus a little bit real quick. What are some of the latest developments you have seen yourself? I know you're working on the front line. You are around COVID patients. What have you found so far? What are some of the alarming facts or some of the things that are concerning all you doctors right now?
So I think one of the things is, we're obviously trying to figure out how do we beat this thing, or, we've tried different things. There's hydroxychloroquine, azithromycin. There's all these new things that have come out that we've tried. And there have been different studies that have shown certain things to be effective and certain things to not really be as effective. But it has been very variable. So it's been very patient specific and things like that. So for many cases, yes, hydroxychloroquine has worked. A lot of times we're just kind of throwing everything as much as we can to see, right now we don't have anything confirmed that's okay, yes, this is the treatment. So at this point, it's just been a lot of experimental stuff and just trying things and just doing as much as we can and throwing on as much as we can just to see if, hey, any little bit of this might help the patients. And now what we're trying to do is now they have antibody testing. So that's something that we've also now we've received that at our hospitals. So I was actually supposed to go do that today and get my antibody testing. So that's a new development, is to see that, hey, if you have antibodies to the virus, then maybe we can start distributing the antibodies and see if that helps patients. However, I'm not really sure. There have been patients that have received antibodies that still didn't have any sort of improvement. So I think it's still very just in the trial and error type phase right now. Obviously, the main thing for us is to try to lock down a vaccine and get that going. But that's going to take some time, and I don't think we're quite there yet. So
What about remdesivir? It's been talked about, in the media, especially over this past weekend. There were so many talks on the drug trials for it, FDA approving it for emergency use, and also vaccination. Your comments on that?
Yeah, so I think remdesivir has been working. I mean, I think it's a good drug to use, and there have been studies that have shown that it does work. And even on our patients, we've used it, and I think it has helped a little bit. So I mean, I think it's just like anything else that we've tried, really. But at this point, we have seen some improvement from that.
Going into this week and next week, while we're talking about increase of cases, it brings me to, again, the question of PPE. We've been discussing it since the crisis broke out pretty much, and we've seen a whole journey of doctors really struggling with PPEs and the supplies, and then some having it, some still not having it. What's your, own take with your experience with PPE and the supplies and all that we heard, and how is it looking for these coming weeks?
So initially on, obviously we didn't have enough, and we were hit really hard. So New York was hit terribly hard. We weren't prepared. We didn't have enough equipment at all. So initially we were actually throwing our own fundraising events, like at least at our hospital, we were throwing our own fundraising events, trying to raise money in order to receive more PPE for us. And we actually did a really good job of that. We did raise enough money, like, all the residents kind of pitched in, and just every department in our hospital. We're a pretty large hospital in Brooklyn, so we kind of took our own step there, and tried to fundraise, and tried to reach out to these different companies and things, and try to get equipment for ourselves, because there just wasn't enough, and we just weren't getting it. So we actually were able to do that, and we did end up receiving quite a bit of personal protective equipment, and we've actually been okay. Granted, like, for the first few weeks or so, we still only had like one N95 to wear for the entire week. So, I mean, that's technically not ideal, but in this certain situation, that was the best that we could do. But at least we had even that. So we were okay in that sense. Initially, it was a little, it was a little rough, but we did what we needed to do to try to get more. And now we've been a little bit okay as numbers have started to come down. We've and it's not just the amount that we have, but how we use it. So
Right.
if there doesn't need to be 5 people in a room, then don't send all 5 people in a room, and that preserves some of the equipment. And so we were being very selective with who went in and who didn't go in, and just trying to preserve what we had as best as we could as well. So it is getting a little bit better. Now, obviously, it just depends what happens in the coming weeks with the amount of cases. If we continue to stay on this downward trend in this plateau, then we might be okay. If things resurge again, then yeah, we might have to try to find some means again to try to get some more. But there have been a lot of companies that have been coming. Even yesterday or 2 days ago at the hospital, there was a truck that came by that was just handing out PPE to all the employees. So I think companies are also stepping up and kind of helping us out. So that definitely helps.
What is the location's greatest need of the hour right
Greatest need of the hour.
now? Right. Or
Right
just
now,
doctors, yeah.
I mean, I think it's hard to say now, because initially I would have said PPE.
Right.
I would have said that was our main thing, but it does seem like that seems to be improving a little bit better. Even as far as vents and things go, I think it's been a little bit better, and we've been able to manage a little bit more. I mean, our entire community has kind of stepped up and really helped us out. I mean, even with food and just providing enough for medical doctors. We've been getting free food every day at work. Like, companies have been pitching in and delivering food every single day, which is great. Like, I think New York is doing a good job, to be honest. I think Cuomo's doing a great job as well, in helping us and really supporting us as well. 2 weeks, 3 weeks ago, I would have said something different, but I think we're starting to take the right steps. And as of now, like, I feel a lot more reassured than I could have said 2 weeks ago.
Personally, how would you describe this entire journey, being on the front line, treating COVID-19 patients in the heart of New York?
So,
How has it been for you?
so initially, it was obviously pretty scary. I think everyone was just kind of in fear, and I don't think it was. I think it was just because it was such a new thing
Mm.
and something that we weren't prepared for. Usually in medicine, we've read about it, we've learned about it, we know the treatments, we know everything, but this was just like this thing that just came out of nowhere, So I think not just that, but it was like, how do we handle this? And then on top of that, it was affecting so many people at once that it was like, how are we going to attack this thing, And like they said, it was a war zone. It literally was a war zone. I mean, there was body after body after body in the ERs, out the door, like in the cafeteria, like just any place in the hospital where we could put beds, we were putting beds, So, um, and people were just crashing, like coming in and dying within like half an hour. Like that's why they were saying, and especially ER physicians, I can't really say specifically because I'm not an ER physician. Granted, I do go in the ER here and there, but to be an ER physician at that time, I have many friends that are ER docs. For them, they were like, literally, it's just like bodies are just dropping. So it was definitely a war zone for them, and I can't imagine how tough that was for them on the daily. But I think it's also kind of helped us grow in our field as well. I think a lot of us were kind of put to this test that we didn't even know we could face. We're put through so many tests, but this was like the ultimate test. And I think in a way it also kind of brought us all together and kind of even showed us the discrepancies in our healthcare system, the things that we need to work on. I think in a way it's been a really good learning experience as well for everyone in the healthcare field. So granted, it was scary and it was hard, and there was a bunch of mixed emotions. There was fear, then there was guilt, then there was like your, fear for your own life. You're sacrificing your own life potentially, especially when we didn't have enough PPE and things like that. So at that time, it was scary and it was frustrating to feel like we didn't have that support. But it has gotten better, I will say. I personally feel a little bit more reassured. As well as just seeing numbers come down a little bit, that's giving us a little glimpse of hope. And we're kind of just, praying that if there is a second surge, hopefully it won't be as bad, and hopefully we can handle it.
I truly appreciate you for sharing some of those feelings and thoughts. I think we often don't understand the experience of people that are on the front line and what they have to manage with and what they have to deal with on a daily basis, because we're so consumed in, in our own quarantined life and our own worries. I really appreciate you for your service, as a frontline hero. What's your message out to other people that are on the front line, and other fellow doctors? What would you say to them?
Yeah. So, I mean, it's been a hard time for all of us. I think we've all kind of been in the same boat. I think we've had the same thoughts, I think the main thing is that we've all kind of become united in a way too. There's so many different specialties that have come in, that this isn't their normal thing. I mean, I'm pediatrics as well, so we're not used to treating adults. So, we kind of had to step up. Dermatologists had to step up. Ophthalmologists had to step up, and now we're all treating patients that we're not used to seeing, and we didn't fully train in those specific things. So I think in a way it's almost it's just really nice to see that it kind of brought us together a little bit. It brought a lot of us together, and I think as doctors we never expected to be in this position. So I think to all all other frontline workers and medical workers, even those that are not frontline, I think this is a great thing, in a way, in a sense that it's brought us together, and I think it's kind of brought out this hero in us that we didn't really even know that we had. It brought out things in us that we didn't know we were capable of, and I think we're gonna look back one day and be like, wow, like this experience right here, I think this made us stronger doctors, better doctors, more equipped doctors, that when something like this ever hits again, or if anything like this ever hits again, we'll have been through it and we'll kind of be able to attack it. And I think that's how I'm kind of looking at it, like just to be positive in a sense. That like, yeah, we were hit with something hard, and it was scary and hard, but like now we're just going to be that much more stronger for anything that kind of comes our way in the future.
My one last question to you has to be if you could give us some guidelines, some tips for our audience to practice within the next couple of weeks, either for their wellness or just, to make sure they're staying safe and healthy. And, just one last message to the audience as well.
Yeah, so definitely, I can't emphasize enough, stay at home, maintain the social distancing. I know it's getting really hard. We've been at this for 2 months now. Everybody's probably going crazy being at home and being contained. I know us as humans, we have really short attention spans and can't and can't do that very well. But I think, I think this is a moment for everyone to kind of step back and really just take the time to do the things that you never had the time to do. Like everyone's had this chance to now slow down and look towards look in, and kind of see, hey, this was a passion of mine. Let me try to do this, or let me make some time for this, or hey, I'm here with my family now, let me spend more time with my family. So I think there's a lot of great things that being at home and being in quarantine definitely has brought for people, and I think they should definitely take advantage of this, because it's not always that you get that opportunity. So obviously for me, I like to sing on the side, so that's what I've been doing to kind of, when I'm not working, when I'm at home and quarantining at home, I've been going to my music. That's been my outlet. So and that's been keeping me sane, and that's been keeping me happy. So I think it's important to just find the things that make you happy. Try to stick to those things. If you want to go out for fresh air, go out for fresh air, but go by yourself. Go somewhere where there's not too many people. I'm still seeing a bunch of people at the parks. I saw a picture yesterday from West Village, and there was massive amount of people there, which was appalling. But like I said, just be smart about it. If you're gonna go out, go somewhere where it's just you, or like at least more than 6 feet, I would say, just because I'm hypochondriac. But just keep your distance, wear a mask when you're outside. And I know obviously this can take a toll on your mental health. And I know there's people that are, dealing with mental health challenges as well. There are hotlines and things that you can call, reach out to your friends, anyone that kind of helps you through this time. You're not alone. If you're going crazy, just reach out to your friends, reach out to someone that you can talk to. We're all in this together. And yeah, I mean, that's pretty much my message. I just hope everyone's staying safe out there, and I know we'll get through this. I think we just need a little bit more time to kind of work it out and hopefully fight this thing a little bit more. But I think we'll eventually go back to somewhat norm, hopefully in a few months.
Yeah, definitely. Dr. Dixi Patel, thank you so much for your time, and we'll go ahead and play out your really beautiful tribute that you did for doctors.
Oh,
and thank you so much for your time.
Thank you for having me, Aditi. Thank you.
In New York, concrete jungle where dreams are made of. There's nothing you can't do. Now you're in New York. These streets will make you feel brand new. The lights will inspire you. Let's hear it for New York, New York, New York. One hand in the air for the big city. Street lights, big dreams, all looking pretty. No place in the world that could compare. Put your lighters in the air